The sky was red with fire. Smoke rose from the broken ground and the air smelled of metal and ash. A small figure walked slowly across the battlefield. It was not human. It was small, thin, and its skin carried strange colors under the dirt and blood. The child's eyes were wide, full of fear and loss. Each step was heavy, as if the ground itself wanted to pull the child down. The war had ended here only hours ago, but nothing was silent. Distant machines burned. Pieces of ships lay across the field like broken bones. The child did not cry. There were no tears left. The only words in its heart were simple: "Mother is gone." The child's mother had fallen that morning trying to protect her. She had whispered one last command before the end: "Run." And so the child had run with smoke in the sky and screams in the air until the sounds stopped. Now, alone, the child searched. Not for food, not for shelter. For something harder to find, someone who would let her live. Voices echoed through the ruins. Human voices. The child froze and hid behind a broken wall. 3 humans walked through the field. Their weapons glowed faintly in the fading light. They looked tired but sharp, like hunters still waiting for prey. The child knew them well. Humans, enemies, the ones her people had been told to fear. The ones who burned cities and crushed armies. The ones who had no mercy for her kind. Still, there was no choice. Hunger and grief pulled her forward. She stepped out from the shadow, trembling. The humans turned instantly. Their guns lifted. For a moment, the world stopped. The child lifted her hands, showing they were empty. Her voice cracked like a broken glass. Can I please stay with you?" The humans did not answer at first. Their eyes narrowed, cold and suspicious. The tallest one, a man with a scar across his cheek, spat on the ground. "Stay with us. You're one of them," he said. "Why should we let you breathe one more second?" The child's knees shook. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Her voice was small, almost lost in the smoke. "My mother died today." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Even the gun seemed to pause. The scarred man lowered his weapon slightly, but the others kept theirs raised. Another soldier, younger, with sharp eyes, shook his head. "It's a trick. They send children to spy. It's always the same. Kill it before it grows teeth." The child's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to fight, but her small body was weak. She only whispered again, "Please, just let me stay. I have no one." The humans looked at one another. Silence stretched long. Only the wind moved, carrying the smell of fire. Then one human stepped forward. He was not the tallest, not the youngest, but there was something steady in his eyes. His gun lowered to the ground. He studied the child for a long time, as if searching for something behind the fear and dirt. The others growled, "Don't be stupid. It's dangerous. You bring it in, it could kill us all in our sleep." The soldier did not answer them. Instead, he knelt down until his face was close to the child's. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "What's your name?" he asked. The child could not speak it. Her alien name was hard for human tongues. She only shook her head. "All right," the soldier said softly. "Then listen to me. You are safe now. Safe." The word was strange in the child's ears. She had not heard it for so long. The other soldiers shouted again, but the man raised his hand to silence them. His eyes never left the child's. "You can stay," he said. The child blinked, not sure if she had heard right. "You can stay forever." The battlefield was still broken. The war still burned across the world. But in that single moment, something impossible had happened. An enemy had shown mercy. A human had offered shelter. The other soldiers looked at him with disbelief, anger, even fear. But the child did not care. For the first time since the morning, her chest felt lighter. For the first time, she believed she might survive. The man stood, keeping his weapon low. He turned to his squad. "She's coming with us." The scarred man cursed under his breath, but did not stop him. The younger soldier shook his head in disgust, but lowered his gun. The child stepped closer, careful, unsure if it was truly safe. But when she looked at the man's face, she saw something she had not seen in any human before. Kindness. And so, through smoke and fire, a strange bond began between a human soldier and the child of his enemy. The war was far from over, but this moment would change everything. The stranger becomes family. The camp was hidden deep in the ruins of an old city. Once it had been full of lights and voices. Now it was only broken towers. cracked streets and the hard sound of boots on stone. The human soldiers had made their base here, setting up fires, tents, and barriers of steel. When the soldier walked in with the alien child at his side, every head turned. Conversation stopped. Hands reached for weapons. The air became tight and heavy. A voice rang out. "What is that doing here?" The scarred man, the same one who had spat earlier, stepped forward. His eyes were sharp with anger. Behind him others muttered, some with fear, some with disgust. The child stood close to the soldier, her small hands trembling. Every face she saw was hard and hostile. Every eye told her the same thing. "You do not belong here." The soldier's voice was steady. "She's with me." The camp exploded with noise. "With you? Are you insane?" "It's an enemy. A child soldier. She'll slit your throat when you sleep." The soldier did not shout back. He simply put a hand on the child's shoulder. His touch was firm but not harsh. The message was clear. "She is under my protection." The commander of the unit came forward, an older woman with gray hair tied back in a knot. Her armor was worn, her eyes tired, but her presence was strong. She stopped in front of the soldier, staring at the child. "You brought one of them into our camp," she said, her voice like stone. "Explain yourself." The soldier did not hesitate. "She's alone. She lost her mother today. I couldn't leave her to die out there." The commander's face did not change. "And what do you expect us to do? Feed it? Clothe it? Risk our lives because you feel sorry for a corpse-maker's child?" The soldier's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "She's not a corpse-maker. She's just a child." The commander looked down at the girl. For a long moment, no one moved. The child lowered her head, too afraid to meet those sharp eyes. Finally, the commander sighed. "You take responsibility. If anything happens, if she causes trouble, if one of ours gets hurt, it's on your head." The soldier nodded once. "Understood." The commander turned and walked away, but the whispers did not stop. The camp's eyes followed the child as if she carried death on her shoulders. That night, the soldier gave her a blanket and a corner of his tent. The firelight flickered across her face as she sat curled up. Hugging her knees, he handed her a piece of bread. "Eat." She took it with both hands, biting slowly, almost reverently as if afraid the food would vanish. He watched her quietly. After a while, he asked, "Do you understand me?" The child hesitated, then nodded slightly. Her voice was soft, broken, but the words came clear. "A little." The soldier smiled faintly. "That's enough. We'll work on the rest." For the first time, the child looked at him directly. His face was not soft like her mother's, but there was something steady in it. Something that made her believe he would not strike her down. She whispered one word. "Guardian." The soldier blinked. "Guardian?" She nodded. Her voice grew a little stronger. "You, Guardian." He did not correct her. The name settled into the air like a promise. Outside the tent, voices carried through the night. "She'll bring death to us. You're blind if you trust it." That thing should have been left with the ashes. The child heard every word. Her hands shook, but she said nothing. She had learned already. Words could be dangerous. The soldier saw her trembling. He spoke firmly. "So the voices outside would not matter. They don't understand yet. But you're safe with me." The words echoed in her mind. Safe. She wanted to believe them. Days passed, and the child stayed close to her guardian. The others gave her no kindness. When she walked past, soldiers spat at the ground or muttered curses. Some threw small stones, not hard enough to injure, but sharp enough to remind her of hate. She did not cry. She only pressed closer to the one who protected her. One evening, the scarred man blocked their path. His gun was slung over his shoulder, but his hands were fists. "She doesn't belong here," he growled. "One night she'll slit your throat. And if you're too blind to see it, I'll do what needs to be done." The soldier stepped forward, his hand resting near his weapon. His voice was cold. "She stays. If you try to touch her, you'll answer to me." The camp went silent. For the first time, the scarred man hesitated. He spat again, but this time he walked away. The child looked up at her guardian. There was no fear in his stance, only resolve. That night, when the campfires burned low, she whispered to him again. "Why?" He looked at her, confused. "Why what?" "Why, you help me?" He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Because no one should be left alone." "Not even you," her eyes widened. No one had ever said those words to her before. In that moment, something inside her shifted. The humans still hated her. The world was still at war, but with him she was not alone. And so the stranger began to feel like family, a world at war. Morning came with the sound of distant thunder. Not the sky's thunder. This thunder belonged to machines, cannons, and ships breaking the horizon. The war had not stopped. It never stopped. The alien child woke in the corner of the soldier's tent. She rubbed her eyes and listened. Every sound of explosion made her flinch. For her, thunder no longer meant rain. It meant death. Outside the camp stirred. Soldiers shouted, checked weapons, sharpened knives, and drank bitter black liquid that smelled sharp. The air was heavy with tension, as if everyone knew that danger was only hours away. The child followed her guardian out of the tent. She stayed close to him, her small steps careful. Around her, soldiers stared with cold eyes. They still whispered behind her back. Some called her spy. Others called her beast. She understood little of their words, but she understood the hate. Hate was the same in every language. The soldier crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. "Stay near me," he said. "Don't wander. If trouble comes, you hide." She nodded. She trusted him. He was the only safe place in this camp of knives. The commander gathered the soldiers for a briefing. Maps spread across a broken wall. Red lines showed human territory. Blue marks showed the enemy. But the enemy's marks were fading, erased slowly by red. The commander's voice was firm. "We push north tomorrow. Reports say the enemy is weak. This sector will fall." Cheers rose from some soldiers, but others stayed grim. They had fought long enough to know no battle was easy. The child watched the map, her small hands gripping her blanket. She saw the blue fading and she felt her chest tighten. Blue was her people. Red was theirs. To the humans, it was victory. To her, it was extinction, she whispered softly, almost to herself. "My people." Gone, the soldier heard her. He looked down at her face, then back at the map. His heart felt heavy, but he said nothing. That afternoon, while the humans prepared their weapons, the child sat alone near the ruins of an old library. The building's walls were broken, but shelves still stood, full of ruined books. Pages flew in the wind like white feathers. She touched a book, though she could not read it. Her people's language was different, full of symbols and sounds the humans did not know. She wondered if these humans had burned her people's books the same way. The scarred man appeared behind her. His shadow stretched long across the stones. "You don't belong here," he muttered. "You're a ghost of a dead race. Soon there'll be nothing left of you." The child froze. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. The scarred man leaned closer, his voice low and cruel. "When the push begins, you'll see. We'll finish what we started. Your kind will vanish," her heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to fight, but she was small, weak and alone. She closed her eyes, waiting for a strike. But then a voice cut through the air. "Enough." Her guardian stood nearby, his hand already resting on his weapon. His eyes were sharp as steel. The scarred man laughed bitterly. "You protect it like it's your own blood, but it's not. It's the enemy. One day you'll regret keeping it alive." The soldier stepped forward, his voice cold. "If I regret anything, it won't be protecting a child. It will be watching men like you lose their humanity." The two men locked eyes for a long, heavy moment. Then the scarred man spat again and walked away, leaving silence behind. The child whispered, trembling, "Guardian." The soldier knelt beside her. "Don't listen to him. You're not a ghost. You're alive. That's all that matters." For the first time since her mother's death, she allowed herself a small smile. It was fragile but real. That night, the soldier sat by the fire, cleaning his weapon. The child sat close, watching the flames. After a long silence, she asked in broken words, "Why war? Why they kill all?" The soldier looked into the fire. His face was hard, tired. "Because both sides believe the other will never stop. So we fight, and keep fighting, until one side is gone." The child hugged her knees. She whispered, "My mother." "Not fight. She want peace." The soldier turned to her. "Peace?" She nodded. Her small eyes shone with memory. She say, "Humans not all bad," she say. "Maybe future no war." The soldier's chest tightened. The words stayed in his mind long after the fire burned low. The next day, the humans marched north. Tanks rolled over cracked streets. Soldiers moved in lines, their boots pounding the earth. The child rode on a supply cart hidden under blankets. Her guardian walked beside her, eyes scanning the horizon. The world around them was broken, cities in ruins, skies filled with smoke, rivers poisoned black. It was a world built on war, a world where hate had no end. But in the middle of it, a strange thing was growing. A bond between enemies. A soldier and a child walking through the fire together. The war belonged to everyone. But this small story, this fragile connection, belonged only to them, and if it survived, it could change everything. The first test, the march north, was long. Dust rose with every step, and the sound of engines never stopped. The humans moved like a river of iron, their machines crushing the earth. Above, the sky was gray, heavy with clouds and smoke. The child stayed close to her guardian. She walked when she could, but often he lifted her into a cart so her legs would not give out. She kept her blanket wrapped tight, hiding her face from curious eyes. Every time she looked up, soldiers stared back with suspicion. That night, the camp was set on the edge of a ruined forest. The trees were burned black, their branches twisted like claws. Fires were lit, and guards took their posts. The child sat near the flames, watching the shadows move. She felt the fear in the air. Every soldier carried it, though none spoke it aloud. The enemy was close. She could feel it in her bones. Her guardian knelt beside her. "Stay near me," he said softly. "Whatever happens, don't run. Do you understand?" She nodded, her eyes wide. The attack came before dawn. It began with a shriek in the dark, an alien war cry that split the night apart. Then came the fire. Explosions lit the trees, and the ground shook with the force of heavy shells. Soldiers scrambled to their feet, weapons ready. The child screamed and covered her ears, but her guardian grabbed her hand. "Come," he shouted. They ran through smoke and fire. Around them, humans and aliens clashed in chaos, shapes leaping from the shadows, blades and bullets cutting through the night. The scarred man appeared, his face twisted with rage. He pointed at the child. "It's her. She brought them here. I told you she was a spy." Several soldiers turned their guns toward her. The child froze, her heart pounding like a drum. Her guardian stepped in front of her, raising his weapon. "Lower your guns," he roared. "She's the reason they found us," the scarred man shouted back. "She's a child," the soldier answered. "She didn't call them. Now fight the real enemy." For a moment, no one moved, guns aimed at her chest. The air was thick with smoke and fear. Then from the shadows, an alien warrior lunged at one of the humans. The soldier had no time to react. The child did. Without thinking, she grabbed a broken metal shard from the ground and stabbed it into the attacker's arm. The alien screamed, dropping its weapon. The human soldier fired, ending the threat. The camp went silent for a heartbeat. All eyes turned to the child, who stood trembling, the bloody shard still in her hands. She had saved a human life. The scarred man's face twisted with confusion and anger. "Lucky strike," he spat. But the other soldiers hesitated. They no longer saw only a spy. Her guardian pulled her close, his voice firm. "You see, she's with us." The child looked up at him, her chest heaving. For the first time, she saw more than suspicion in the soldier's eyes. She saw doubt, even respect. The battle raged until sunrise. By then, the enemy had retreated, leaving bodies and smoke behind. The camp was broken, but it still stood. The commander gathered the soldiers, her voice sharp. "We were tested tonight, and we survived. But do not forget, this war is far from over." Her gaze swept across the group, landing for a moment on the child. The commander did not speak of her, but something in her eyes had changed. She had seen the child act with courage. She had seen her fight for humans. That evening, the camp was quieter. The soldiers were too tired for arguments. Some even glanced at the child without hate. Her guardian gave her food and water, then sat beside her by the fire. "You were brave," he said. The child shook her head. "I was afraid." He smiled faintly. "Bravery is when you act even while afraid." Her small hands trembled as she ate, but her eyes stayed fixed on him. He was the anchor in the storm, the one steady thing in a world of chaos. Later that night, when most of the camp slept, the scarred man came again. He stood in the shadows, his face dark. "You think she's proved herself? One act doesn't erase what she is. You can protect her today, but one day she'll turn. And when she does, you'll regret not ending her sooner." Her guardian rose, his voice low but sharp. "If she ever turns, I'll deal with it. But until then, she's under my watch. You want to hurt her, you'll go through me." The scarred man glared, but he walked away without another word. The child had heard everything. She pressed her face into the soldier's arm. "Guardian, they hate me." He placed a hand on her head. "Some hearts are hard, but not all. You proved something today. Even they saw it. She closed her eyes, letting his words sink deep. For the first time since her mother's death, she did not feel like only a burden. She felt like someone who mattered. The test had come. She had passed. But in the shadows of war, more tests would follow. Secrets revealed. The camp carried scars from the attack. Black smoke rose from burned carts, and the smell of blood still lingered in the morning air. Soldiers buried their dead in shallow graves, marking them with scraps of wood. No one spoke much. Their faces were tight, their eyes hollow. The child watched quietly, hugging her knees. She saw how humans mourned. They did not sing like her people. They did not paint symbols on the ground to guide the souls. They simply placed the bodies in the dirt and moved on, carrying grief in silence. Her guardian worked beside the others, shoveling earth with steady arms. His face was tired, but he did not complain. When it was over, he washed his hands and returned to her. "You all right?" he asked softly. The child nodded, though her eyes were wet. She whispered, "Too many." Gone, he sat beside her. "That is war," her small voice trembled. "Always war?" He did not answer right away. He looked out at the horizon where smoke still climbed. Finally, he said, "Feels like it." That night, the campfires burned low. Most soldiers slept, but the child could not. She lay awake in the soldier's tent, staring at the fabric roof above her. Memories of her mother filled her head. The way her mother sang in soft tones, the way she held her hand when the skies were bright. Her chest ached. She wanted to keep those memories alive, but they were slipping away, buried under fear. The soldier noticed her restless breathing. "You're not sleeping." She shook her head. Silence hung for a long moment before she whispered, "I tell you secret?" He turned toward her, his eyes gentle. "You can tell me." She swallowed hard, her small hands twisting the blanket. "My mother. Not soldier. Not like them." She pointed at the guns outside. "She healer. She—" "Speak for peace," the soldier frowned. "Peace?" The child nodded. "She meet humans in secret. She say not all humans bad, she say, maybe end war." The soldier's breath caught. He stared at her, shocked. "She met with humans?" "Yes," the child whispered. "She wanted—" "Stop fighting," she say. "Too much blood." His mind raced. If her words were true, then her mother had not been just a healer. She had been something more, someone important. Someone who believed war could end. "Why didn't she tell anyone?" he asked. The child's eyes filled with tears. "She try. But her own people call her traitor. They say peace is weakness. Then did she die? No one know truth." The soldier's chest felt heavy. He realized this child carried something dangerous. Knowledge that both humans and aliens might kill for. If word spread that a leader of her people had sought peace, neither side would forgive it. He lowered his voice. "You must never tell the others. Not yet, do you understand? It's not safe." The child nodded slowly, though fear filled her eyes. She whispered, "I trust you. Only you." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Good, keep it between us. For now." The next day, whispers began again in the camp. Some soldiers spoke of the attack, still convinced the child was to blame. Others, quieter, spoke of what they had seen, the way she had saved a life. But one soldier listened more than he should have. The scarred man. His eyes followed the child everywhere. His ears were sharp. That evening, when the soldier left to help repair weapons, the scarred man approached the child. His voice was low, almost kind, but his eyes were cruel. "You carry something, don't you? A secret?" The child froze, her breath shallow. He crouched closer. "You think I don't see it? The way you whisper to him, the way he guards you, what is it? A plan, a code? Tell me." The child shook her head, her small hands clutching the blanket. "No secret." The scarred man's face twisted. "Liar." He reached out and grabbed her arm. Before he could press further, a shadow fell over him. The soldier returned, his voice sharp as steel. "Let her go." The scarred man released her, raising his hand slowly. "Just asking questions. Ask me," the soldier snapped. "Not her." The scarred man smirked. "She's hiding something. I can smell it. One day I'll prove it." He walked away, leaving the child shaking. Her guardian knelt and checked her arm. "He didn't hurt you?" She shook her head, though her eyes were wide with fear. The soldier clenched his fists. He knew the scarred man was dangerous. If he ever guessed the truth, that the child's mother had tried to make peace, the whole camp would turn on her. That night, The soldier sat awake long after the child slept. He thought about her mother's secret. If peace had been possible once, maybe it could be again. But at what cost? The child stirred in her sleep, whispering softly. He leaned closer and caught her words. Guardian, safe, peace. He stared at her fragile face, dirt-streaked but innocent. She carried the weight of a secret too big for a child. And now he carried it too. The war outside raged on. But inside this small tent, a truth had been revealed. A truth that could change everything, if it didn't destroy them first. The sacrifice. The days that followed were restless. Every soldier carried the attack in their bones. They spoke less, sharpened their weapons more, and watched the horizon as if death might rise with the sun. The child stayed close to her guardian. She could feel the change in the air, like the silence before a storm. Her secret weighed heavy, pressing against her chest, but she said nothing. Only he knew. Only he could protect her, but the scarred man still watched. His eyes followed her every move. His suspicion grew with every passing hour. The next attack came when no one expected it. It was midday. The camp had stopped to rest by the ruins of an old bridge. The soldiers spread out, some searching for water, others patching holes in armor. The sun burned overhead. That was when the sky screamed. Enemy ships descended, dropping fire and soldiers into the ruins. The ground shook as the battle began. Bullets tore through stone. Explosions lit the sky. The child tried to stay hidden, clutching her blanket tight. But in the chaos, she was dragged from the shadows by rough hands. Enemy soldiers, her own people. Her heart froze. Their armor bore the markings of her home. Their language was hers. But there was no kindness in their eyes. One of them hissed, "You should not be with them." "You shame us," the child trembled. I only want to live." They did not listen. They bound her wrists and pulled her toward the smoking wreck of their ship. The soldier fought his way through fire and steel, his rifle burning hot in his hands. When he looked up and saw her dragged into the enemy's grip, his blood turned to ice. "No," he roared. He pushed through the chaos, bullets flying past his head. He struck down 2 enemies, then 3, his body moving with desperate strength. But the child was pulled farther away. The scarred man appeared at his side, shouting above the noise. "Let them take her. She's theirs. She doesn't belong here." The soldier slammed the butt of his rifle into another enemy and shouted back, "She belongs with me." For a moment, the scarred man's eyes widened. But then he spat and turned away, choosing battle over rescue. The soldier chased after the kidnappers alone. The child stumbled as her captors dragged her into the ship. She cried out, "Guardian!" Her voice cut through the battle. The soldier heard it, sharp and desperate, and his legs burned with fury. He threw himself forward, diving into the ship's hatch just as it began to close. Inside, shadows swallowed him. The enemy turned, weapons ready. But his rage was a storm. He fought with everything he had, striking, shooting, breaking through until only silence remained. At the end of the corridor, he found her. The child's wrists were bound, her face streaked with tears. She looked up and gasped, "Guardian!" He rushed forward, cutting her free. "I've got you." But footsteps thundered behind them. More enemies poured into the ship. The soldier pulled her close, shielding her with his body. "Run," he whispered, her eyes widened. "No, not without you." He fired until his rifle clicked empty. Then he drew his knife, his body a wall between her and death. Blow after blow struck him, but he did not fall. His arms shook, his chest heaved, but he fought like a beast. The child clutched his sleeve, refusing to let go. Tears blurred her sight as she cried, "Stop, please." One of the enemy soldiers lunged forward, blade aimed at the soldier's chest. In that instant, the child acted. She threw herself between them, her small frame blocking the strike. The blade sliced her shoulder. She screamed, falling into her guardian's arms. The soldier's roar shook the walls. He struck down the attacker with brutal force, then scooped the child into his arms. Blood soaked her blanket. "You should not have done that," he whispered, his voice breaking. Her voice was weak, trembling. "I not let you die." With fire in his veins, the soldier carried her out of the ship. The battle outside was fading. The humans were winning, pushing the enemy back. When the others saw him emerge, bloodied and carrying the child, silence spread across the camp. Even the scarred man said nothing. The commander stepped forward, her eyes sharp but softened by what she saw. "You risked everything," she said. The soldier's jaw was tight. "She saved me too." The commander studied the wounded child, her small body curled in his arms. For the first time, she gave a slow nod. Then perhaps she belongs with us more than we thought. That night, the camp was quiet. The child lay wrapped in bandages, her wound burning but her spirit alive. The soldier sat beside her, refusing to leave. She looked at him weakly. "You saved me. I save you now. We even." He shook his head. "No, now we're family." Her lips curled into the faintest smile. In the middle of war, in a world drowning in hate, she had found something rare. Someone who would fight, bleed, and even die for her, and she had given the same in return. The sacrifice was not just hers, not just his. It was theirs together forever. The camp was broken but alive. Fires burned low, soldiers patched wounds, and silence hung heavier than smoke. The child lay on a cot, her shoulder wrapped in bandages. Every breath hurt, but her eyes stayed open, watching the flicker of flames. Her guardian sat beside her, refusing rest. His armor was cracked, his face streaked with blood and dirt, yet he stayed steady, his hand resting lightly on hers. "You should sleep," she whispered. He shook his head. "Not until I know you're safe." For a long moment they sat in silence. The world outside the camp was still at war, but in that small circle of firelight there was only the two of them. The next morning the commander called the soldiers together. The attack had shaken everyone. Supplies were low and morale was lower, yet she stood tall, her voice strong. "We march east," she declared. "The enemy gathers in numbers. If we hold that ground, we hold the line." The soldiers answered with tired nods and mutters. Their boots were heavy, but their duty was heavier. The child heard it all from her cot. Her heart twisted. More battles, more graves, more hate. She remembered her mother's words. Peace is possible. But looking at the soldiers' faces, she wondered if her mother had been wrong. That night, as the camp prepared to move, she whispered to her guardian, "Why fight more? Why not stop?" He sighed. "Because neither side trusts the other. If we stop, they fear we'll strike first. If they stop, we fear the same. So the war never ends." Her small voice trembled. "Then, someone must trust first." He looked at her, startled. She was only a child, yet her words carried weight. His chest tightened. Maybe her mother had been right after all. The march east was long and brutal. Storms swept across the ruins, soaking the soldiers in cold rain. Food was rationed. Every shadow looked like an enemy. The child stayed in the cart, wrapped in blankets, her wound healing slowly. When they reached the valley, the truth was clear. The enemy was already there. Lines of alien soldiers stretched across the ridge, weapons ready. The humans set their positions on the opposite side. For days, both sides stared at each other across the valley, waiting. It was a frozen silence, sharp with tension. Then at dawn, the horn sounded. Both armies advanced. The child stood at the edge of the battlefield, clutching her guardian's hand. She should have hidden, but she refused. Her eyes burned with determination. As soldiers screamed and machines roared, she pulled his hand and whispered, "No more. Stop this." He shook his head. "It's too late." She stepped forward anyway, her small frame walking into the open field. The soldier's breath caught. "Wait, you'll be killed." But she did not stop. Her voice carried across the valley, broken but strong. "No more fighting," she cried. "No more killing." Both armies froze. The sight of a child walking into fire silenced even the cannons. The enemy soldiers recognized her, the healer's daughter, the child who should have been theirs. The humans recognized her too, the child who had bled for them. The commander shouted, "Get her back!" But no one moved. Everyone was held by the moment. The child turned, lifting her small voice again. She looked first at the humans, then at the aliens. "You both bleed. You both lose. My mother say, peace possible, but only if someone brave first." Her words struck like lightning. Soldiers shifted, their weapons lowering slightly. Confusion rippled through the lines. The scarred man snarled from behind. "She's tricking us. She wants us weak." But her guardian stepped forward, his voice booming across the battlefield. "She's not tricking anyone. She saved us. She bled for us. She is not enemy. She is family." He raised his rifle high, not to fire, but to throw it aside. It clattered against the rocks. The sound echoed through the valley like thunder. "You can stay forever," he said, his voice breaking but strong. "Not just with me, with us." The words carried across the field, louder than weapons, sharper than hate. The child took his hand, lifted it high, and repeated in both tongues, human and alien alike. "You can stay forever." For a long, endless moment, silence ruled. Both sides stared, weapons trembling in their hands. Then slowly, one alien lowered his gun. Then another. A human followed, then another. Like falling dominoes, soldiers began to lower their weapons on both sides. The scarred man's voice broke the silence, furious. "This is madness. You can't trust them." But no one lifted their guns again. The commander stepped forward, her voice steady. "Maybe madness is better than graves." The valley did not erupt in blood. For the first time in decades, it did not erupt at all. That night, the fires of both camps burned side by side, not across from each other. Humans and aliens still eyed one another with caution, but no shots were fired. The child sat with her guardian, leaning against his shoulder. Her wound still hurt, but her heart felt light. "You see?" she whispered. "My mother right," he nodded, his voice soft. "And so are you," she smiled faintly. "We family now. Forever." The soldier wrapped the blanket tighter around her and looked out at the quiet valley. War was not ended, not yet. Hate still lived in many hearts. But something had changed. It had begun with a simple plea. "Can I please stay with you?" And it had ended with an answer that echoed into history. "You can stay forever."